has led to disruption. Hybrid mode is a disaster. Okay, classes are very difficult to conduct. Either all of you are on screen, all of you in class. ये extreme customization नहीं हो सकता है कि I will sit in my home and other one will come to class and you have to cater to both. Life becomes difficult for us.
But Professor, the other batches are there, right? What we heard, some of them are already happening hybrid.
Yeah. So we are talking about doing politics. So मैं भी politics कर रहा हूँ कि आओ सामने तो ठीक है नहीं तो you all stay at home. Well, 50-50 makes life difficult for us. Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Okay, let's. I'm going to just take off from where I left in the previous session about talking about culture, and we talked about 4 blocks of culture, and I'll now talk about innovation. And I hinted at that when I was responding to this question about Daimler, that mature organizations which are extremely process oriented find it difficult to create space for innovation. Okay, and I'll kind of using that, I will get into organizational design for innovation. And towards the end, we will have very brief discussions on 3M. Okay. So, what according to you is innovation? I'm not going to again open it up to questions because I have a squeezed last class. Okay. So essentially for me is sort of invention is different from innovation. A lot of us are technical people and sort of we conflate this idea of invention with innovation. And again, I think too many engineers see this as synonymous, invention and innovation. Invention is something that is creating technical value, and innovation that is coming something business value. Okay, I tell people that the museum of failed technologies is far bigger than the museum of successful technologies. But if I'm working on a piece of technology, I think I'm changing the world because some technical thing was not feasible before. Now that I have achieved it, I want my manager to say how great I am and pump money into the project, etc., etc. But from a business perspective, oftentimes some technical value that has been achieved despite a lot of odds does not make business sense. So I'm not going to fund that project. Okay. So I'm going to try to separate out the idea that technical value and business value are the same. They are not. Innovation happens where the technical value that has been created and the opportunity of making money from it in the business context come together. And when they come together, there's scope for innovation. Okay, and that's where a technologist at some stage has to think in terms of technology, at the same time think in terms of a market context. When these two can come together, then you get innovation, or we encourage innovation. So that is why we don't sort of think we need too many systems and processes to allow this to happen, because innovation happens in this unknown territory. There's some amount of innovation happening in when you're creating technical value, yes, but oftentimes when you're matching the technical value to a market situation, there's lots of experimentation, prototyping, failure, going back to the pivoting, all kinds of language, and that is why you have to treat innovation as separately from innovation. So you have to be technically savvy, at the same time understand the context. Now, I will make I stick my neck out and say something not so nice. You can protest after that. We have too many people in Bangalore where sort of technically savvy people who have no clue about the market make a lot of noise about the innovation ability. Don't do that. Okay. Amongst the many things that is holding back India in the innovation domain is technical people who don't know the difference between technical value and business value, and don't recognize that a lot of things that are worth celebrating for the technical value may or may not be worth celebrating for the business value. Okay. No responses I got. You are accepting it? Okay. Okay. So Essentially, why we are trying to separate the two is the innovative organization is different from what we will call an operating organization. Most of us are closer to an operating organization, or definitely in India, most organizations have a much more operating outlook where they know where they want to go and their systems and processes are ensuring that everyone is aligned to where they want to go. However, innovating organization doesn't sort of require that. They know we want to make progress, but we don't know where we want to go. We have to have a system that will allow us to make progress without necessarily having a very detailed idea about where we are going. So if you look at this point below, is an organization that is designed to do something well for the millionth time is not good at doing something for the first time. And this is a cliched statement, I'm making it there. Most of us come from organizations where repeatability is very important, consistency is very important. And we believe that just like we make excellent products which satisfy the customer by ensuring repeatability, we'll also get innovation by ensuring repeatability. But they are actually in the opposite side. So when I said Six Sigma is bad for innovation, this is what I was hitting to. Six Sigma is ensuring that the millionth item is identical to the first item produced, and it's a wonderful thing that is required once you have a true, tried, proven product. Making sure that the million items are identical to each other is a requirement. Please go ahead and implement Six Sigma. If you want to do it for the first time, the mindset has to be very different. And unless your mindset is different, you will still go and drive innovation through, if not a Six Sigma, a modified Six Sigma event, and you're not going to get to where you want to be. Okay. Because to think freely, to do something for the first time, requires you to have a very unshackled environment, and large organizations find it very difficult to create that unshackled environment. I'll just pause for a comment. Sai Chaitanya, you want to ask something?
Yes, sir. So we mentioned that technical people will not be able to functionally know if that will succeed, right, on innovative ideas. So my point here is definitely there should be a product management support inside the team so that we get an idea of both technical and
aspects
of
project
the
management. So I think, I mean, educational, I'm going to hint at it later on, but I'll tell. Educational environment contributes to this mindset that the technical guys have. Okay. The whole education system is creating a whole bunch of technical people who cannot think independently, and educational institutions are contributing to that. All of you, again, I'm provoking you to respond. All of you are geared towards keeping that professor happy and cracking that maths exam or whatever mechanical engineering exam. You're all exam oriented, regurgitating, replicating what is known. Our education system doesn't give you an opportunity to think independently and fail, etc., etc. The first time an opportunity we get where some progressive organizations are giving us an opportunity to be innovative, it's our cobwebs in our mind are holding us back. We don't know failure. The smartest guys in India have never failed in life. That's the problem. Then you tell them to innovate, they fear innovation. They fear uncertainty. Okay?
And
as soon as I tell you कि ये marks से ये question आएगा, you can crack it. But you know, I tell people in my PGP class कि project करो, I want a good project. They will say, sir, how many words this? I want a good project. Then you are a loss. Okay, and that's I'm pushing it that much of the highly qualified guys in India are in that same mode. Once you tell them where to go, they'll do it very efficiently. But if you tell them, I just want something good, discover your own path, we all start crying. Okay. Anyway, let me push it.
And as well, sir, in the big organizations as well.
No, sorry. We will not be able to run the class if we have a one-to-one conversation. Organizations are very system oriented. They are required for the organization, no doubt, but they are required for the matured organization that have been accepted by the market. the market is giving you good feedback on how to improve it, how to. So there's an operating organization. The same organization is not able to behave like an innovative organization where you are sort of encouraged to do anything that is required to make the innovation happen. And it need not be
I can't hear you, sir. Is it only me or is it
Hello.
everyone?
Yeah, Srinath, okay, Mike, okay, okay. Essentially, you have to create environmental spaces where people don't have these artificial blinders. They have a self-drive to go and experiment, and once they get a sense that this is what I want to do, they are able to overcome impediments, break rules if it is required. And sad part of it, these don't go together, and they don't do it together because of you and me. As human beings, you can't tell me be Six Sigma oriented in the morning and then break all Six Sigma orientation in the afternoon. It doesn't happen that way, and I'm putting it sarcastically. So we have to create spaces where people get into experimental mode, and that is the normal way of doing things. And in another context, they get into the Six Sigma mode, and that's the normal way of doing it. If you bring it together, it creates a problem. Most large organization. That's why when I was responding to the Daimler one, I responded. And even before, while he was asking the questions, I was shaking my hand deliberately, because Daimler is so used to working in the operating organization mode that it will, not impossible, it will find it difficult to get into the innovating mode, because it's very difficult to take the system-oriented, process-oriented thinking, which has got into the mind of an average Daimler guy, to get into this territory where all rules have to be broken. So, how does an established firm like a 3M or a Daimler or whatever else create spaces for both to happen? Both are very important. You have to cater to the customer needs of your established products, and their repeatability and consistency and all is absolutely important. You need to have a system that ensures that. At the same time, the same customer is willing to abandon you once they find another product that is very good. So how do you maintain your existing business, at the same time try to create a product which will meet the customer need in the future? So if I bring it back to Daimler, how do I be number one in my all my hydrocarbon fueled cars, and at the same time be the first one to have the electronic vehicle which is autonomously driven, etc., etc.? Can the same organization produce the alternate product? It cannot. And who was there from Daimler? I mean, Daimler has actually created a separate division called CASE to do that. Why did they do that? They needed to have another organization which is somewhat separated from the operating organization to create that. Okay, so we have to build ambidexterity. Ambidexterity means both hands. We can write with both hands. Some of us have that ability. So how does a large organization, how can be innovative at the same time operating oriented? Okay, and so we talk about building ambidexterity. One of the ways of building ambidexterity is structural ambidexterity, where if you see the units that are involved with regular operations and the units that are involved with innovation are kept physically, structurally, culturally, and financially separate. So at the top, you can ownership and the Daimler name and all is there, but if you can build distance from between these two organizations, you will more likely get innovation. So since we are talking about the automobile industry, a few years back when Hero Honda used to rely on Honda for its innovation, and had a great operating organization which would take Honda innovations and take them to the Indian market. They were doing very well. When that broke up, then they realized that the existing organization was not as innovative as it could be. It suffered for some time. till it set up R&D facilities in Jaipur. So that fits my description very well, where all the operating facilities in Gurgaon or whatever else it is, but the R&D facility was set up in Jaipur, which is physically separate, financially separate, structurally separate, culturally separate, and allowed people to think very, very independently. So in Jaipur, you can break rules. In Gurgaon, you cannot break rules. Okay, if you're in part of a okay. And the other way of doing it is contextual ambidexterity, which is what 3M has done. If you read the case, it's in the context where what they have done is created a space where, in 3M's case, 85% of your time is supervised, process adhered to, etc., controlled by the supervisor, and 15% of your time you're allowed to do your pet project. So the same context is shared, but we have created space for other things. So the contextual ambidexterity allows you to do significant product adaptations, significant process improvements, but it will not encourage radical innovation. But if you do structural ambidexterity, you're more likely to get radical innovation. In the structural ambidexterity, the distance between the operating organization and the innovating is so far that each can operate largely independently, think independently, and radical innovations are possible. That's why I said Daimler set up CASE as a division to come up with a radical innovation. If you want improvements, product or process improvements on your existing things, etc., you can do contextual ambidexterity and you'll be okay. Yes, Siddharth.
Sir, we mentioned that the innovation lies between technical and business value ka intersection mein. So when we are separating the R&D centers from the business generating or the manufacturing unit, where all the sales people, purchase people sit together and they face everyday problem with customers. So how can we just understand in sitting in the R&D at a separate place, very far from the product, that what is the business value or what is the actual complaints of the customer? And sir, second question is keeping it in the same thought. Same thought, sir. Abhi small organizations, they don't have the tools, intelligence, data. Ki actual business mein problem kya hai? What is the problem statement of facing at a larger in context? So how come they understand more and they are more flexible in solving probable in solving that situation?
So let me answer this by saying closeness to the customer is not necessarily good. Okay, once you have an established product, closeness to the customer is important. Once you are getting into a new idea, sometimes the customer is a bad entity to engage with. Okay, so that is why the startup, and I give my cell phone example. Okay, today I can tell you what I like, what I don't like, etc. Okay, some guy came to me 15 years ago and asked me कि अरे ये device बना रहे हैं आपको handle इस पे क्या चाहिए? Okay, and I would be not able to provide anything. So sometimes the big organizations, and that's where the tension comes for organizations like Daimler. Okay, I'm just, since you're asking the question, I'm going, is you are too close to your existing customers. And those existing customers are not necessarily giving you good signals on how to go into the territory that you want to go. Okay, see, that's the advantage that Tesla has over you. Tesla doesn't have the old customer. Okay, usko it can do away, it can have in the press reporting some failure, some accident, some kya, usko farak nahi padta hai. But for Daimler, where you have 90% of your market is a solid old style Daimler, true, tried, wedded customer. Agar he starts listening to every other day Daimler is getting into an accident, brand value will go down. So successful companies which have a solid customer base and have built their reputation with sort of zero default or zero fault in the hand of the customer, that has become so strong. Whereas Tesla ji can keep making mistakes in your see. There's an old metaphor. Since you are from the auto industry, somebody was joking at one stage, okay, and of course now it's true. Very early days of Microsoft, when Microsoft was valued more than GM, somebody told this GM guy, "What is this? You are such an established company. How can this small firm be valued more than you? So he said, listen, if I had the luxury of, each time my Windows sort of stopped working, I could reboot. If I could do that with my automobile, I will also, okay. So the joke is, these are different entities, okay? Totally different entities. The way you manage an automobile firm of the traditional market and the way you are going to get into the electronic car is very, very different. Another way of putting it is, it's a mistake to think that Tesla is operating in the automobile sector. And that is what the automobile industry thinks, and is a blinder. Tesla is in the big data market. The four wheels, the steering, and the car is just incidental to the big data market. Okay, so there are whole mindset issues. If you were to separate out that entity, it will be able to think afresh. As long as you attach it to Daimler thinking with the best intentions. Okay, with the best intention, wo dhire dhire aa jayega. Long back, I did some workshops for back to the garage workshops I did for Daimler. Usme pata lagta hai ki, the guy will tell you there's very good intention to set up a team to do futuristic activity,
Right.
but somewhere the old system keeps creeping in. Okay. Yes, that's it. I have to wear my chashma again. Where is it? This is the state of my eyes. I can't. Okay. Tapti. I can't hear you, madam. Pramod.
So, basic question actually, like when we talk about innovation here, is it like just only scientific innovation, or are we also talking about like process innovations, or is process innovation like even a thing?
But I'll come to that in a moment. I'll come to that in a moment. Not scientific is not limit. Okay, I'll answer your question in this slide here. You have to see whether the domain in which you're doing innovation, the innovation is how close it is to your current operations and how close it is to your current strategic direction. Okay, if something is, you're trying to get into a domain where it is not operationally aligned to your current business and not strategically aligned to your current business. This is an old 1996 article. It says complete spin-off. If I were to modify it today, I would have something here, invest in a startup. Okay. Is there a way I can write on this one? No? Okay. So if you look at the extreme top right corner, it says complete spin-off. Okay. But if you see how the industry has emerged today, if I want to do something very, very radically different from what I am doing, most companies are going and investing in a startup in that domain. Okay. However, if you are looking for, in this, I say direct integration, where it is operationally related to the current activity and strategically related to the current activity, it is typically a process innovation, and you will not have to build too much distance from your operations. Okay, so I'll give you HAL example. HAL, it has innovation teams in its manufacturing plant, and those innovation teams in its manufacturing plant are improving on components and improving on ways and means of producing that components. Whereas the futuristic products are all based out of Bangalore. Okay, there's a distance between, so there is some innovation which is both technical and process oriented, but is enhancing the current product, that can be very closely aligned with the operating organization. But if you are getting into territory which is far from your current operating organization, so that's what I was saying, the EV car with its self-automated, self-driven, etc., is so far away from the current existing operations that a typical automobile company will deal with. It's better to have the innovation on that in an organization which is separated out. In today's environment, it would be sort of, you have an existing startup which has all the right things, they're just short of fund, you fund them and take first right to refusal, and that is the best way, the best bet, and a cheaper and faster way of getting innovation from an organizational perspective. Okay, so innovation is not necessarily technical. It can be process oriented, but process oriented, you don't need to invest in a startup to get process innovation. Process innovation can happen within the existing organization. So organizations can kind of find the correct distance between. Now I gave you positive examples of building distance. It can go negative also. So Xerox, any of you work for Xerox? No. We use Xerox as an example, a great company which was sort of kind of recognize the importance of innovation. They also, I don't know whether they followed advice from some consultants. Xerox was largely a Northeast US based company. It set up its R&D facilities in California, diagonally on the other side of, if you look at the US map, so it was sort of physically, structurally, culturally, all very, very different from the New York kind of thing, okay? And so the Palo Alto Labs did fantastic innovation. The only part is finally the innovation can be taken to the market through the operating arm. Startups are very poor at taking products to the customer. And startups oftentimes just sell out to a larger organization because the larger organization has capabilities to take it to the market. Or they themselves have to grow out. So sometimes some entrepreneurs have the fire in their belly to take their product to the next level of growth and become operating organizations and take their product to the market. Some of them don't aspire to do that and they become so-called serial entrepreneurs. They take the item to a certain level and then sell it out to a larger company, which can do consistent production and marketing and all very well. So that correct is important. If you build too much distance, then the operating arm just sort of rejects the innovation. And if you build too close a distance, the operating arm does not allow real wild innovation. So you have to find out for yourself and make an assessment what is the correct distance. Closer home, I'll tell you, HUL. I'm forgetting the date time now. 10 years ago, I think they have an R&D facility in Brookfield in Bangalore. These guys came up with a lot of Ayurveda-based products. And the operating side of HUL rejected those products. They put it into the market for 6 months and they did not sell very well. And HUL operating arm says, "Ki Ayurveda product ko koi nahi puchta, hamara customers ko nahi chahiye Ayurveda products." And just a few years later, everyone is scrambling for Ayurveda product. The market has changed, and HUL itself has gone back to those products that they had abandoned. They have brought it back and into the market. So, in the language I'm using, somehow the R&D facilities at Brookfield had become too far from the operating side of HUL. Had they been closer, that rejection would not have happened. So organizations should find a way of making sure that they have that distance is appropriate. Then they will be able to do the innovation at the same time take the innovation to the market. So if I take a large mature organization, they have to do a good job of maintaining an operating organization, which is absolutely essential for the current market. It also has to develop an R&D facility, which is developing new products which will work into the future, and ensure enough conversations between these two, such that when the real innovation comes from the innovating arm, the operating arm does not reject it, which is what happened both in the Xerox case in the US and I'm talking about the HUL case in India. I'll pause for a moment for some clarification before I go into 3M. No questions? Okay. Oh, okay. The same people are coming up. Or Sharath and Archana have asked many questions. Anybody else? But you have asked, so Sharath, tell you.
My question was like, as we're discussing, right, so technical innovation, then science innovation, process innovation also you said, like, do we discuss, do we have anything on operational innovation, like regular operation, how to innovate those.
That is process innovation. In the language I am using, regular operation change is a process innovation. It can be aligned with the operating organization. You do not set up a separate unit to get operational improvements. Yeah. Yes, Archana.
Thanks.
Sir, you talked about ambidexterity for contextual ambidexterity, where a person can do both alignment and adaptability, right? That context switching is not easy for anybody. So
That is why I told you it is not good if you are looking for radical innovation. It's not good. Contextual ambidexterity. If you are looking at product enhancements, product customization, etc., etc. So when we get into the 3M case, it has a contextual ambidexterity, and most of it is taking existing products existing in other geographies and customizing it and localizing it. And that's feasible if that doesn't require a dramatic shift in mindset. Okay, but okay, so it's just like going to Daimler and saying that if you have a sort of a shock absorber system designed for Germany, will you be able to design something for India? Yes, you don't need to have too much of a distance. But you know, where car of the future is going to be 80% software and only 20% hardware, I mean, Daimler is going to have a challenge. Not impossible, but the mindset required to do that is very different. Distance will help. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Sri Chaitanya. Oh, Sai Chaitanya.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, okay, sir, no problem. So basically, in large organization, we have a concept called safe agile methodology, where we separate one sprint, which is innovation and planning sprint. And we work on continuous exploring the ideas and then come up with the product enhancements, as you said. I think it comes as contextual and
enhancements, I'll agree. Enhancements can happen quite well aligned with the operating organization. You take up this small project or small sprint that requires an enhancement, you can run it so-called simultaneously, and the steady part of the organization over time can meet the dynamic part of the organization, agility. But agile is not going to give you a future products. Okay.
Yes, indeed. We have to spend a lot of time, not only IP sprint, but we end up spending more.
Yeah. Okay. So again, we don't convert this into a in a one-to-one conversation. How has 3M built now? Again, in the interest of time, I'm not going to get into the details. You read it in the case. I'm going to go and ask, sort of make it into a monologue a little bit. If you see what has allowed them to build ambidexterity is they have this global geographic structure with each country having run as a profit center with a lot of autonomy. All commercial decisions in a geography are made by the CEO of the geography. So 3M India CEO is responsible for it. 3M does not peddle around with anything. They charge a royalty for the technology that the India division will use or India unit will use, but all commercial decisions are. So that kind of builds distance from the other headquarters. Small divisions, they know that we get into a bureaucracy. As the organization grows, the bureaucratic element grows stronger and stronger. So they ensure that they don't allow a division to go too large. So in some sense, they are willing to give up some of the benefits of economics of efficiency to remain innovative. So on the margins, of course, they use Six Sigma, but on the margins, they don't want to get into a very high volume game, because as soon as they get into a high volume game, the thinking will change and innovation will hurt. So they maintain small. Okay. Then there are R&D facilities, recognizing that if you want to innovate for the country, you will have a lot of R&D. You will have to have R&D with each division. And then you have a separation of roles. What I mean, say a separation of roles is there's an innovator, typically a young guy. There is a manager for that innovation projects, who's typically a guy who's been innovative in the earlier part of his career and understand the ups and downs of of innovation, and at the top, a senior executive who's also been an innovator in the past, but knows how to handle the politics of innovation. Okay, so the roles are very, very clear. Innovation is a political process, and there has to be somebody betting on the right project. And so they have three layers of managers: one lowest level guy who's actually doing the actual innovation, the second level guy who's guiding the innovation, and the third level guy who's protecting it from the politics in the organization. Okay, typically guys from the operating organizations don't like innovations. How many of you in a sales role? Can you raise your hand in a sales role? Nobody in a sales role? Yes, Anupam. And your company gives you a new product to sell. Do you like it or you don't like it?
No, to be very honest, because
Ah.
we would like to keep things as it is because it is
Absolutely.
already running smoothly. So why to
Absolutely.
rattle the cage?
Thank you for being honest. Okay, so you give one instance of a person who doesn't like to upset the cart. I say chal raha hai very efficiently, and I'm engaging with the customer, selling more. My team comes and says, "Ki you sell this product also," and then that product my existing customers don't want. I have to go and create another set of customers, sell them. First, I have to learn about the product so I can make a pitch. All life becomes difficult. So my first response is, nahi, is quarter mein nahi hoga, I'll see it next year. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is the existing organization doesn't take new products easily. You would thinking rationally, you should be excited about the new product, but that doesn't how it works out in the real world. People like to stay with what they are doing and they know how to do it efficiently. As soon as you bring a change, they oppose that. And hence the guy who's orchestrating the system will force Anupam to say, you have to sell this product. He will set a target of how much of new product you have to do, etc. Then only he will do. Okay. So I'm just trying to say this. You need to have a set of people who manage the actual innovation, who protect it, because this techie guy doesn't understand the bigger picture within the organization. And then a guy at the top who is ensuring that a clear path for this innovation to make to the market is provided. Otherwise, I just took the marketing sales example. Operations. Any of you running an operational plant? Again, the operational plant guy will resist a new product. He's established systems and processes, all that is there. And then you come up with a new product and say, iske liye you set up a plant to do this, the operational guy will hate you. Okay. And that's why you need to have separate roles to manage the political side of it. Okay. The contextual ambidexterity in 3M is, already mentioned 15% of the time on pet projects. And as earlier somebody already pointed out, when you do this 15% project, you're not going to get radical innovation. You are going to get modifications of existing products, existing technology, but relevant to the current market. That's what you're going to get. The funding processes are very good. It allows you, there's funds in each division to fund the project. Then there's encouragement to go to other divisions to fund your project if your current division doesn't fund it. This forces an idea to travel. This is one of the things that in general, techie guys have a problem with, and in India, it gets really, it used to, now it is changing. Nobody wants to share ideas. You feel that my technical idea, if somebody gets to know it, he will make the product. So this funding process actually encourages 3M engineers to share their idea with their managers. And if the manager funds it, wonderful. If the manager doesn't fund them, you go to other divisions and share the idea, such that the idea travels. And invariably, the idea gets implemented in the market in a very unique fashion rather than in the identical way in which it was originally imagined. Okay. Global mentorship, that's largely significant for the Indian team. As I said a little earlier, the Indian team, Indian managers or Indian technical people have a strong fear for failure. And so 3M had to set up mentorship roles with largely of people of Indian origin sitting in headquarters in the US to mentor guys in India to kind of be innovative. How many of you are fearful of failure? Anybody? None of you are fearful? Arey nahi,
all.
honest ho jao. So we need, I mean,
All of us.
yeah, most of us would be, okay.
Most of
So in
us.
3M, it was like that. And so they had to set up global mentors to help us that, okay, it's not a showstopper. It's good to be a little bit nervous about the future, but take the first step. If we fail, we'll help you recover, etc., etc. But it takes time. These are things, and of course, collaboration, okay. So let me kind of say we end the case. Okay. Sandeep, you have a question?
Yeah, so the contextual ambidexterity you mentioned, incremental innovation is the case in case of 3M 15% rule, right? But for radical innovation, do you see that extreme contextual and ambidexterity in terms of creating a completely different unit only is a solution? That's how to learn about that concept.
Okay, 3M, if you read the case, there's two parts to it. There are 3M has R&D facilities at 3 levels. One is the extremely futuristic R&D. They do it at corporate headquarters. So those corporate headquarters is working on technical value, which will probably create revenue 15 years from now, 20 years from now. Those are not attached to any operational unit. Then there is platform level R&D, which is taking this basic science and developing it into technologies which kind of have more operational value. And then each division takes these platforms and customizes to their context, mixes. Any product of 3M would be based on 5 to 10 platforms in which they integrate and put it together, okay. So this is another one, making a pitch for 3M. It's easy for people who are working in Electronic City here, but if not, you get to visit 3M in Electronic City. Just in the open area, just at the reception, they have a wonderful display which matches what happens in corporate headquarters. I mean, corporate R&D. Then they have platform R&D, and then they have product R&D, and they have actually some products on display, which will show you that any product that 3M brings in front of you is a combination of sort of platform R&D done, 6, 7 different platform R&Ds, they bring it together, and that is what the individual division in India will do. Will borrow so-called technical outcomes from these multiple platforms, bring them together to bring a product for you. Okay, but the fundamental R&D is done by corporate R&D, and thankfully, because of the general trend we have, there's corporate controlled R&D happening in Bangalore also. Okay, so in Bangalore facilities, there's corporate control R&D. That part of it will be working for sort of very, very futuristic technologies. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I am working on a futuristic technology, and you make me too close to the operating organization, the operating organization guys will keep giving me trouble. Again, I will give you HAL example. HAL also has some amount of basic R&D happening in their different divisions. But invariably, what does the project manager there do? Air Force is waiting for this delivery. Come, you do your R&D project tomorrow. Aaj operating mein aa jao. If you bring it too close, we don't let those guys work on their long-term projects. The attitude of a manager is revenue today is more important than revenue tomorrow. Okay, and for an operating manager, I'll accept that. I empathize with that. But somebody in the organization at the top has to say, today's revenue is important. We also need to create sources of revenue for the tomorrow. So we need to let some people go and stop thinking about today's revenues, thinking about future revenues. And typically, operating organizations are not very encouraging of futuristic thinking. That's why we need to make these structural arrangements. Okay. So let me bring home these 4 questions that I want you to think of. One is, would engineers opt for the technical ladder? So how many of you would, in your organization, if you are offered a technical ladder, you will take the technical ladder rather than the managerial ladder. Career paths, go up, increase your designations and roles in the organization up a technical path, and then another option is go up to managerial path. How many of you will take the technical ladder? Yes, Hashimuddin?
Of course, sir, we'll go for the technical one. Why I'm saying this? Because this is the safest one. I mean, I had a previous exposure where I connected with very senior managers, those who came from US. When I ask about attritions and all about resource moving and all those, he says that the technical guy is the safest one for the future perspective. So I feel like
No. वो तो theory हो गया. आप you will go for technical ladder.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It will make me safe. A person like me is always looking for financial safety. And
so now let me tell you again. I'll hear the others and come back to you. As individuals, we imagine that we like the technical role, but our society is not very accepting of technical role. When you go home and you say, "I'm managing 2 people, I'm working on this project," you might not get support. घर पे जाओ बोला कि I'm managing a 100-member team, मतलब बेटा manager बन गया. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, our society is a big constraint in allowing us, some of us, who as an individual level are happy with technical roles to take. Before I go to Arindam, I'll tell you, there's a joke. One of the guys from Mahindra R&D facility, he was saying that one of my junior employees, he says, I love this job and I want a technical ladder. But sir, मेरे designation में एक word manager डाल दो. This is why रिश्ता नहीं आ रहा है, because जैसे कि ये तो अभी junior employee technical कर रहा है, manager डाल देगा तो रिश्ते आएंगे. Okay, so that's how society has played a huge role in not allowing people who really like the technological role to continue. Samaj, for whatever reasons, has an impediment in allowing us to stay to a very, very technical role. The whole system seems to encourage so-called managerial roles. All of you have joined EGMP because in one side you are betting that managerial role is more exciting than technical role. Anyway, Arindam.
Sir, just one point. Hello.
Yeah, Arindam, speak.
No, it's Hasham, sir. I'm a good example of it. Means I've been in technical sites since 11 years, and just now I moved to the pen manager role because the ask is same for me also, not for the marriage purpose, but family operation. I was in core development till 11.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Arindam.
I think the growth is very limited in technical ladder. The opportunities are more and recognition is more in managerial ladder.
Yeah. So if you are in an organization which is largely operating, you will see that the technical ladder seems to be a less glamorous ladder.
Yes.
And hence, but things have changed since the time I've written this case. Things have changed significantly. Now most organizations have created better, more attractive paths on the technical ladder, and more people are taking it. But it is an issue. It is an issue, and sometimes when one compares with say companies like companies coming from Japan or Germany or US, and we say, okay, they are doing so much innovation, you will realize that the ability of a German employee or an American employee or a Japanese employee to work on a very narrow technical domain for 20 years is very high. हमारे यहाँ तो 4 साल में लोग कहते हैं कि अरे I am saturated now, I need to learn something different technology, etc., etc. That's not terribly good for innovation. Okay, we want more glamour than interest in technology. So, if you compare to others, I think society respects people working in narrow domains for several years, and if the whole ecosystem gives them that respect, they get technical depth. See, in India, we kind of, at least I'm going to generalize based on what I have observed largely in the IT industry. There is a lot of value for jack of all trades rather than master of one. Okay, so we actually are master of none. We kind of dabble with a whole range of things and we feel proud of it, and that's justifiably so. However, at the same time, you want innovation, it's not going to happen. Okay. Yes, Santosh.
But sir, if you see all the
Speak to the mic.
Yes, sir. If you see new trend, more and more, there is a technical field. Guys are like they have more they are getting more monetary benefit in terms of
No, ठीक है, वो I'm
technical.
just saying, since I wrote the case, things have improved. I like agree with the idea. My concerns remain the same. That if you look for innovation, you need to provide innovative space, which some companies have not been able to do. You seem to be from the Tatas, Mahindra Groups, or the Hero plant. There are moves in the right direction. Things are much better. But if you compare internationally, there's a long wait for most firms in India to go. Yes, Pradeep.
Sir, I would go for the managerial ladder because if I go there, I can, as I said, as you said, I mean, we need money, we need that space for the innovators, which only the business side can bring to them. So
This
yes,
is
there are,
this is at the heart of the problem I am talking about. Okay, आपने बोला ना कि हम पैसा कमाते हैं, वो लोग R&D करते हैं. This creates a lot of rivalry. That is why innovative arms need to have financial autonomy from the guy who thinks कि मेरे पैसे पर वो innovation कर रहा है. You know, this sets up animosity. This sets up animosity. How many of you think you envy your R&D guys? कि सर हम दिन भर मेहनत करके प्रोडक्ट सक्सेसफुल करें, पैसे लेकर देखो ये मजा करते हैं. Okay, this is a source of a lot of tension in R&D in firms, which that's why you have to, if you take the lifestyle that an R&D guy in Hero has in Jaipur, if they were to replicate that in Gurgaon, it would be disaster. Okay, anyway, chale Shikha ji.
No, I wanted to ask you a question about, even if you are in a technical role and you grow up the ladder, it does not just remain technical, because then you get responsible for the people who are working with you. If the direction of the product is going in the right direction, so somewhere or the other you are mentoring people. There has to be leadership skills and all. So even if the person is technical while growing up the ladder, those managerial skills, maybe they are not taking strategic decisions and all on a bigger level, CXO level and all, but I feel some sort of managerial skills have to be
Yeah,
even
I mean,
growing up the ladder as a technical
okay, I'll accept that.
guy.
I mean, on a relative scale, it's much smaller. Yeah, little bit of people management will come up. And there are lots of guys who in the software industry now will get into architect roles, etc., etc. Essentially, because it's more technical than people oriented. But the more glamorous role is still in the software industry, or particularly the services side of the industry, is the sort of project manager role. So that when the project closes, they can go to the parties and celebrate and whatnot. And architect दूर से देखते रहता है कि अरे that I contributed one day there and they are celebrating. Okay, Chaya ji.
Yes, sir. So like you mentioned, in India, technical ladder is less valued. So like we discussed earlier, the technical people are, they have less influence in the whatever in the business strategy and also in the politics. So like you said, there's always politics, but the technical ladder, they are more concentrating on how to get out the product successfully. But there are other managers who are just trying to get their politics in place to launch it. So basically,
become a success. It looks like you are from the technical side. Become a little bit more politically savvy, such that your idea is accepted. Okay, so why? Yeah. I'm not trying to get both politics and innovation. Understand that all this happens in a larger context, and the more aware of you of the larger context, you'll be more successful. So innovation is not about technical value. It is about engaging with all the stakeholders to get your idea accepted. And good luck. Okay. Yes, Archana.
Just one more point, sir. So I've also worked in US firm where there I've seen that technical people are more valued. It's just the Indian society here where they think that growing up the ladder is taking the management path. But there are people who are still doing the development works even after 50 years and they enjoy what they're doing. Here it's the peer pressure and the society pressure is what.
Okay, so thanks for supporting what I just said earlier. So I think society has changed significantly in the last 20-25 years. Now people are much more accepting. In life, for somebody who really wants to pursue a technical ladder, is much easier today than it was 25 years ago. Yes, Archana, I think people are gradually raising their hand. Anyway, Archana, quick question, because you have already.
Yeah, sir, I was listening to Chaya. So I don't think technical ladder is not as respected. At least in my company, I see that there is a very clear path which is set. They can either go to the expert path, or there is a management path, which is very clear. And there are same number of bands which are given for both expert career path and for
वो मैं मान
management
रहा हूँ.
path.
There are enough organizations that are trying that. हमारा समाज is still catching up. We still like the manager. Sorry, okay. You are all coming here to become managers. Okay, that's why you are in this program. Sandeep.
Yeah, it depends on the context, right? The company, if it is in service industry, it is mostly managerial path. If it is in a technology domain, even in technology domain, India has managerial.
I'll accept that also. Given all else equal, what I'm saying is society is forcing us to go into managerial ladder. But yeah, if you are clearly in a technical domain, of course, they'll be easier to go technical ladder.
It all depends on the opportunities around. Based on that, what we opted.
Yeah. Madhusudan and then Sandeep will start. Akanksha, I'm not going to come to you. Okay, ऐसे बढ़ते जाएगा. Okay. Madhusudan.
Yeah, what I've seen is earlier, it was mostly the management side, but I think the surge of startups as well, right? If you look at now, the VCs want to fund, the one who is founders has to be, someone from this technical side, right? I think that surge has, clearly showcased in the last probably decade or so in companies wanting to,
So you're just saying things have changed in the recent past. I'll accept that. Yes, Sandeep, last one.
Yeah, I think nowadays, even for the managerial role, the expectation is to be largely technical. Otherwise, people below you don't trust. So earlier, maybe there was scenarios where
This is another problem. This is another problem with these techie guys, is they think that the manager has to be technically competent. Right? Manager is there for his job. Okay. So the captain of the captain of the cricket team doesn't have to be a great spinner to be able to tell a spinner how to spin. Okay. But हमारे यहाँ, in fact, it comes from college also. The need to embarrass a professor in front of the class is so important. Learning becomes secondary. Okay. So सीखो पहले. Okay. The faculty is there for his job. You are there for your job. Again, in an organization, the manager is doing a job. Because he does not understand one small technology, it doesn't make enough reason to not respect. In fact, this orientation of ours that we want the manager to have the technical need that we have is holding us back. In fact, the whole PGPM program, one we run, came because these techies would not let any manager function. Then we had to teach them how to do manage. See, technical value is one thing, business value is one thing. Technical value is quite an essential part of business value, but you have to allow people who understand their business value to operate. So one of the things that what keep us down is people who have fantastic understanding of technical issues. They just don't want to give space to people to do the managerial issues. This is the flip side. This is happening in the mind of the two parts. The first part, I said, society wants you to go down the managerial ladder. The second part is the technical guy thinks because he knows some technology, he's the honcho. No, boss, you have to collaborate. So your manager need not be on top of the technology you're working on. He's performing a different role, you're performing a different role. Okay. Now,
so one last comment on Madhusudan's version, like the founding member can be CTO. The VCs will fund that person, but then when the product is ready, they'll bring a CEO to
absolutely. Both have to work together. So we have to have a mutual respect. I'm addressing the manager guys, learn how to respect the technical guy, and I'm addressing the technical guy, learn how to respect the business guy. Both together will deliver. Let me get to now, in the interest of time, I'm going to make it a monologue here. Would the engineers in India be able to exploit the 15% time on entrepreneurship? Things have changed in 3M since I wrote the case, but in the early years, 3M had a great difficulty. All these smart engineers who got into 3M R&D did not have an idea that they could pursue in the 15% time. 3M had not experienced that before. All engineers they had hired, they had some idea in mind, and they were just looking for a platform to be able to express themselves. Here they found they took this top bracket of our engineers into the R&D facilities. Most of them came back telling, see, we don't have an idea to pursue. Can you give us a 1-year waiver that next year we'll come out with a project? So it's the tragedy of an education system where the brightest of our guys do not have an independent idea that they want to produce. They have all been sort of cracking exams without being able to think independently. They either don't have the technical skills for innovation, or they don't have a business understanding therefore for innovation. And so things have changed. I know things have changed, but the idea is technical guys who really want to get into innovation space, you have to have some understanding of the real business and practical needs to be actually get into the R&D roles, and not just show up there as technical people, tell the manager ki kya project chahiye. Once the manager says I want this project, then we do a very good job. When the manager says think independently, I cannot think independently. That's a big failure. Fear of failure. In Indians, we are very, very conservative. In fact, there is a study which shows comparing Indians with the Israelis, who are so-called more innovative. In terms of technical knowledge, etc., they are not much better than us. Why they are better than us is not have this fear of failure. They can experiment quickly, fail quickly, and after one thing has been declared a failure, they can stand up and work on the next project as if nothing happened in the past. हम लोग को 6 महीने लगता है, वो रोते रहते हैं in the system. Okay, and the system is also not very nice. Not only the system not very nice, ecosystem. My colleagues will laugh at me if I worked on a project which has failed. My family will get दुखी कि अरे ये project 6 महीने के बाद कुछ दिखाने का नहीं है. The whole ecosystem encourages us to be sort of very, very conservative. And again, I keep saying that things are changing, but if you compare across nations which are supposed to be innovative, you will find the most innovative nations are where societally they allow you to fail and be okay. So one of my colleagues, now he has retired from here, he tried to encourage sports, because our so-called brightest kids, they have not held a cricket bat in life, or they have not held a hockey stick in life, they have not played soccer in life. We have to give in the education system more exposure to students or people growing up an opportunity to so-called fail and deal with being on the wrong side of the victory table. We'll emotionally be better prepared to play the innovation game. Most of us are smart, bright guys, have never failed in life, okay? And then you want them to innovate. We are more, all our life is guided by not failing. And I'm not telling you to necessarily fail, but unless and until we have some experience with failing in in sort of reasonably mild situations, we don't know how to have the emotions to overcome this fear of failure. And the last one is kind of respect for hierarchy. How many of you claim that you don't have any fear or hesitation to speaking back to your boss?
Me.
You can speak back to your boss?
Yes, I can. And I have gotten into lots of trouble because of that also.
I think after 10 years of working, I have that. But I think when I was 2 years, 3 years experience, I couldn't think of talking back to my boss.
So I kind of, lot of people I ask, can you speak to your boss? Yeah, I refer to my boss in first name and whatnot. That's the easiest part, okay? First name calling is the easiest part. Being able to express your dissent and having the boss accept that dissent is the second part. And again, in India, I have a long way to go, okay? So this kind of ends my information on innovation. I will take 4 hands here. I will respond to your 4 questions. Still, Charu, no fresh hands, huh? Otherwise we will miss lunch. Jyoti.
On the same context about respect for hierarchy, it's not always that we want to put our perspective and opinion forward, right? So I mean, it's just not calling your boss by your first name, but sometimes I mean, in Amazon we had this particular leadership principle that's like have backbone, disagree and commit. So if you want to disagree with your boss, you need to have your facts right and present it in a way that it can be addressed.
Definitely.
Yes. So, I would like to we can be vocal about our thought process and present our perspective at the same time being respectful for the,
Absolutely. Yes. No, I agree with that. I mean, so that's one of the things, so it's both two-way story. Younger folks hesitate to express themselves. Sometimes they don't know how to express themselves, okay? And the older folks find it, this junior guy who just come, kal aaya hai, humko bulaya. So if you said you've been in Amazon, when people from a US environment ask a question, look at the politeness with it. They will tell you the nice things, a great presentation, I learned a lot from it, etc., and then ask the question.
Agree.
Yeah, so it is competitive. You are insisting on proving yourself right. Okay, it's at both sides. So in terms of that feeling comfortable with hierarchy, guys junior in the system need to be maintain a minimum decorum, etc., when asking that question. And on the other side, I'll address the older folks that listen. Allow these people to, if you want to have a future as a manager, allow these people to show dissent. Yes, Amita.
Yeah, I come from the advertising space. So, like in terms of like speaking up and hierarchy, it's like completely acceptable to like become bold and say it across. But then I shifted into the corporate space, and the way that kind of like it was treated as aggressive. The same like behavior which is completely accepted in the previous industry wasn't. So it was like a learning process to see how you can actually talk directly and get your point across without offending people in this industry. I just wanted to.
Yeah. So it's, again, you have to be context sensitive. So what works in one firm and one industry may not work in another firm and another industry. And hence, so I would still say, that's why I use the word decorum. Each industry and firm has its own decorum to follow, and I would think respect that and then express your views. So
it was a learning process.
yeah, it's a learning process. You keep your comments focused on the product or service that you're criticizing, and make sure that you don't criticize the manager and all. It'll be easier for the manager also to. As soon as you say you're a fool, you can't even think this or you can't even see this, then you set up a. So keep focus on the product or service you're criticizing or the work that you're criticizing. It'll be palatable to all sides. So I said all parties need to be able to sort of come to a context where the voice is given space, but is given space in a fashion that is used respectfully. Okay. Soumya, last comment, and then we'll go for lunch.
So it's like when I entered the organization as in GET, I started to challenge to my boss, saying, "Why is this process like this?" And he was saying that this is how it was defined and followed for several years. So when I challenged that, then he put me onto that role. Then I challenged on customer way of handling things. He put me to that role. So I started to accumulate more roles as and when I kept on challenging him. So
good. I mean, I think
it is good to challenge or not agree to what they say, because I was the only person in my team always raising point like this, and then
no, as long as you raise those issues constructively, that's okay. As soon as you kind of raise it in a fashion where you want to win the argument, come what may, then your boss is going to get antagonized, and rather than give you the opportunity, he will kind of try to sideline you. So, okay, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to close with this innovation. Recognize that your regular operations are not the way you run innovating organizations. The more radical the innovation you are, the more distance that part has to happen with your operating business. Product enhancements, process improvements can all happen within your existing organization. And so if you're really looking for futuristic business, that R&D activity should be as far from your current organization as possible. Traditionally, it used to be organization would spin off an entity, and the people who went into that spin-off entity were typically existing employees of the organization who were put into a division which was spun off. In the last decade or so or more, actually, I think we've seen organizations have found it more prudent to go and back startups which are working on technologies and then invest in them. And it seems to be that that's a more successful way of achieving radical innovation than doing it internally. Whereas, known technology, known markets, you do the R&D internally. The unknown R&D and unknown markets, you do it in a startup or in a regular spin-off. Okay. So with that, we will stop. Thank you very much. We will meet you tomorrow. And with JD, you can negotiate how you meet me. I will be in class. My condition is all of you are here or none of you are here. Okay. So वो mix नहीं होगा. ठीक है? चलिए. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.